This is Time Signatures with Jim Ervin, a podcast and radio program presented by the Capital Area Blues Society in Lansing, Michigan.
Driving up and down these Michigan roads, yeah.
And now, here he is, your host, Jim Ervin.
Baby, I'm home.
Well, hey, everyone. Glad to have you here, and thank you, Parker. I'm your host, Jim Ervin, and this is Time Signatures. It's another new album, and we are being treated to another new member of the next generation of the blues. This 20-year-old hails from Middletown, Connecticut, and his brand new album, Roots and Wings, is slated for release this Friday. And just to put things into perspective, our guest has only been out and about on the social media circuit with his music, since late 2023, but he has amassed, as of this date of the bio's writing, 245,000 followers and nearly 30 million cumulative views. Now, here's what his bio says. He is a song-oriented artist who writes tough, tuneful blues rock with introspective, free-spirited lyrics. Roots and Wings is a classic blues rock power trio record largely built around a single guitar track running from beginning to end. Think Clapton, Hendrix, Stevie Ray, Buddy Guy, and Robin Trower, but for a new generation. I would have to say this really does sum it up. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to introduce, as I said, another new member of the next generation of the blues, touched by rock flavor, Blind Pig recording artist Amani Burnham. Welcome to Time Signatures. How are you?
Good. Thank you very much for having me.
It is my pleasure. Now, we're going to talk about that new album, Amani. I promise you that, okay? But we have to get to know just a little bit about you first and some of the stories from you. And is that okay with you?
Yeah, of course.
All right, cool. So I want to start at the beginning. I mean, I know you're only 20 years old, man, but where did your journey in music begin and at what age?
Yeah, so it definitely started. I'm not sure the exact age, but it started at a very young age, maybe like 7 or 8. My dad introduced me to like a lot of older music and stuff because he had that's all he had for like CDs and playlists and stuff. So I really and as a kid I was a huge Beatles fan and still am. I mean, obviously because they're just great. And then my first guitar hero was Chuck Berry. So those were the two things that were rolling around in my head as a young kid. And then, as time went on, my first instrument was drums. So I eventually started incorporating the music I heard into the instruments I was learning and stuff like that.
Okay. And clearly you had good time because that you got to have good time if you're going to be a drummer, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. That's really what helped me a lot as a guitar player was understanding rhythm and being able to count. It really helped me especially with the songs that'll be on the album. It just helped me get a good understanding and idea of how to really play in time.
Right, right. Now, talk about your earliest influences when you first started going in the guitar. I know you talked about Chuck Berry. Are there any other guitar heroes that you had when you were coming up that really stuck out to you when you first got going?
Yeah, I was a big fan of Frank Zappa. There was some songs of his that I loved. Obviously, since I was a Beatles fan, I loved George Harrison and stuff
Sure.
like Jeff Beck. There were some Jeff Beck songs that my dad put me on to.
Okay.
And yeah, I would say those. At an early age, that's who they were.
Excellent. Now, I read that you were born in Ethiopia, but you were adopted by an amazing family here in the States. A
Yeah.
family, as it turns out, that exposed you to some of the greatest music that you've become enamored with. And clearly, hearing what I've heard from you already, you're definitely an old soul, aren't you?
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely am. Sometimes I deny it, but in the end, I put on some albums and it's like, all right, yeah, maybe I am an old guy.
Yeah, there you go. Now, that sentence that I read earlier, referencing Clapton, Hendrix, and the rest, was really about spot on. I have to tell you, because as I sat here last evening tying up the loose ends in this interview, I listened again to your album, and I absolutely heard strains of these artists, especially Jimmy, in your voice. So how do you separate yourself from those other artists in order to show music lovers what Amani Burnham is all about?
I think the best way that I've found to do it is to just kind of venture outside of, what you're comfortable with. So like I mean as a like a teenager, I mean I guess I'm young still, but as a teenager I really was Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and like I was into the blues and that was it. But nowadays I try to listen. I've gotten like way back more into the Beatles, stuff like that. I also try to listen to other people's albums, other people's blues rock albums from nowadays, just to see where everybody's heads are at. You know what I mean? So I
Right.
just try. I've been getting a lot really into like Thin Lizzy and stuff like that. So I just keep in my
Wow.
mind other sort of artists just helps my playing. It helps my songwriting. So it doesn't. It
Sure.
so I'm being just the Hendrix kid with big hair. You know what I mean? So.
Well, I'm jealous because I don't have much hair. So go you. Now, I got to see the clip of you playing Hoochie Coochie Man, and I got to tell you, man, I can see why people are captivated by this clip. You're flat out getting with it, but you're about turning that Fender Jazzmaster every which way but loose, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I do that because it's like I just think it's important for this generation to kind of be still into like a lot of rock. It doesn't necessarily have to be older music, but just like music of that nature of just a guy playing through an amp, you know what I mean, on stage and like singing, and it's all like live. You know what I mean? It's important for this
Yep.
generation to see and appreciate that. And I always say like people will appreciate like good music, you know what I mean, no matter the genre. You know what I mean? So.
Well, I appreciate that. And in this day and age when so much is being done with AI and computer generated stuff, it's refreshing to find somebody in your age group that appreciates what real music sounds like. And I think that a lot of people, as you venture out and get more, within the world and get to experience stuff and people get to learn who you are, I think that's probably going to be an endearing quality that you're bringing to the table. Don't you agree?
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. I'm thankful I'm able to kind of I'm one of the people who I feel I like to think I'm keeping that sort of music alive. So I'm kind of honored that I can do that.
Well, I would strongly encourage you to get in touch with, people like Young Rel, if you haven't already. Jemiah, oh gosh, what's Jemiah's last name? I'm sorry. I've drawn a blank here. Sean McDonald. There's a few young guys out there that, the young guns that are really starting to bring it. And I think you're going to fit right in there. But I want to flip the page here. At what point did you decide to take the dive into the deep end of this pool and really give music a go?
I mean, so I think like I said before, I started with the drums at I want to say like 9, and then I started learning guitar at like 11, but I
Okay,
didn't start to really take guitar seriously until I was like 15, just because I mean, I'm not even really sure what did it, but it was COVID, so there was really nothing much to do, and I just decided, I should really kind of get into guitar because I always like I said, I always listen to older music and stuff like that, and
sure.
with necessarily write songs and stuff like that. So I was always interested in songwriting, and I felt that guitar was just a good way to do that. So yeah, so like 15 is really kind of when I started honing in on my you know blues stuff and try to kind of get into that.
Okay. The album is entitled Roots and Wings, and as I read, according to you, it reflects your connections to your African heritage. Talk about that for a minute, and how does that tie up together, Amani?
Yeah. So I mean, roots. It's like it's just it's where I'm from. Africa's where I'm from. I went back in 2018, and I'd probably go back again.
Oh,
So
very
I just
cool.
the album. A lot of that stuff was kind of important to me, so I just felt the best way to do it for me personally is to get it out there on an album. And then the wings is like the journey that hopefully I'll have in the future, if that sort of makes sense, and how it'll shape me, from years from now. So that's kind of that was the sort of idea from it. So some of those songs relate to that in a big way. So.
Sure. Now, it's my understanding that you teamed up with Blind Pig Records' Jeff Schradel after someone alerted him about you. Is that correct?
Um, I'm not sure how he got onto me necessarily, but I know he reached out in 2024 and like sometime in September, and then yeah, we just kind of connected through that. I think he DM'd me on Instagram, and then he also emailed me.
Wow. Now, how did that first meeting come together? Was there a person face-to-face meeting that eventually took place, or digitally, or what?
Eventually, but at first, I think I remember because I was in my dorm, and we just agreed to. That was when I had my first call. I had to go to like the study area in my dorm
Okay.
a little bit, and then we decided, we'd stay connected and stuff like that. And then me and my dad went to Memphis, and we were just kind of we were on Beale Street just to see, like, there was like a little blues, I think, competition going on at the time, and
A little blues you talk about the IBC?
I think so. I forget what it was called, but it was definitely. And Jeff just so happened to be going down there, so then that's when I met him for the first time face to face, and we just also kind of just talked things through then, and then yeah, that's kind of how the first sort of meetings started.
That's very cool. Just out of curiosity, what do you think of Jeff's band, Altered Five? Are they incredible or what?
Yeah, I love it. It's a great combination. Good, really good. I wish I could sing like that. And it's
That's a brother, that's a once in a lifetime voice right there. There's not many people can sing like JT, that's for sure. Yeah. So not only did Jeff produce the album, but as I understand it, he also assisted with the writing details on this. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, it was actually it was a very fun time for me because it was like I'm pretty sure, yeah, it was over the summer. We just kind of call once a week and just kind of go over the songs we had, and just it was just fun. I always liked writing, and it was my first time writing with somebody, and it wasn't like a it was very enjoyable.
Did you find that working with him on the writing kind of helped open yourself up a little bit and expand some areas that maybe you hadn't thought about previously?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Because there was some stuff that there was some most of the instrumental was like I had some of the songs I've had since I was like 15 or 16. Those were some of the first like few songs I've written. And lyrically there were some of them were put together, but it was yeah, Jeff helped me because that's what we did on the first few calls. We just kind of talked about, yeah, this is my life. This is kind of stuff that I've done. You know what I mean? Just kind of bouncing off like ideas and stuff like that for songs.
Very cool. Now, I want to dig into this album just a little bit because honestly, I was caught off guard as I began to listen to it for the first time. For me, some of my favorite tracks were Fast Lane simply because of its high energy launch. It just kind of like got the album off on the right track, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I also enjoyed the title track, Roots and Wings. And the last thing I remember, which is a song, as I understand, that's about sleep paralysis. That one really caught me, man. How about you? I mean, any of these tracks stand out to you in your mind as some of the best?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to like pick just like one. I mean, I love them all, but the ones you mentioned, I love. I love Fast Lane. I think that's my like favorite on the album. The last thing I remember is also, a really good one. I love and Sideways Through Time, because I like that the album has a good amount of blues, and I know it's a blues rock album, and this isn't me joking, but like it's got a good amount of blues and like a good amount of rock from each. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
those songs that I like.
Well, and a lot of, I mean, look, not everybody's going to like the album.
Yep.
That's all there is to it. However, there's a lot of people that enjoy Kenny Wayne Shepherd, Joe Bonamassa. I mean, Stevie Ray Vaughan. And as I've said so many times on my show previously, the blues is a buffet. You take what you want, you build the plate you want, you take it to your table, and you enjoy it. And I like a little bit of everything. I think the thing that really endeared me to this album is that in some areas I could hear you channeling Jimmy, and whether you meant to or not. And it wasn't, to me, it was not strictly that you were just mimicking his style. your delivery actually sounds a lot like his. Um, and it's one of those things again that caught me off guard. But I want to go back for just a minute and talk about the last thing I remember. Um, was sleep paralysis something that you had dealt with growing up?
No, not necessarily. I think I just remember I remember very well having it because I've only had it once, knock on wood. But it was just
Okay.
like there was just one of those things. Me and Jeff were just kind of talking. I was like, it would be kind of because I got a song about, or I didn't have it prior, but like we were just I told him about an experience that happened, and I knew it would be just kind of cool to make it like it'll be like a slow blues, but it'll be like really heavy and kind of in your face because that's what it felt like at the time. I mean, it's sleep paralysis, so you're chilled out in your sleep, but at the same time, it's like you feel like something's coming at you. So I just felt like that song that was like the kind of the best way to represent it.
Well, and I think you did a really good job of representing it, honestly, because I have had an experience of my own. I've got, a daughter that has experienced it as well, and it's real, it's
Yeah,
very, very real. And I think that you embodied that so well, almost too well when I was listening to it. It's like I said, it caught me off guard. And then when I started reading the background on it, I went, wow, this guy's really he's digging deep.
yeah.
But so with the album coming out Friday, any talks about, touring, promoting anything during the summer that you're thinking about doing?
Yeah, we not necessarily touring, but we've got a good bunch of gigs so far. We've got one at the Kate in Old Saybrook. That should be good. We have Joe's Pub. We're having a show there. That's like the album release show. Joe's
Okay.
Pub. And so yeah, we've got. I mean, the band and I were super excited because this is more gigs than I've ever had. Like in a, we're pretty excited.
Yeah, well, I mean, with all due respect, I think you better be excited. I mean, I think
Yeah,
this has potential. I really do, and I think that it's going to fill a niche. And like I said, some people may not like it, but I think you're going to find a lot of people that do. And it will be those people that like the Kenny Wayne Shepherd music, the Joe Bonamassa, and stuff like that. But I think that it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'll be excited to see what transpires and what unfolds as this album comes out and people get to know a little bit more about it. So, finally, where can we send people to learn more about you, Amani? The cranking new album that you got. Maybe they want to get a copy if you've got merch available or get you booked for a gig. Where do we send them?
it'll be on Spotify and Apple Music, and then also if you I think if you go on my website amaniburnham.com, it'll be available there. There'll be a way to purchase it there. Also, I'll have it posted on my Instagram, which is amani.guitar. I'll have ways you can purchase the album, like a physical copy that way. But yeah,
Is there talk about vinyl too, or is it just going to be CD this time around?
CD and vinyl.
All right, cool. Well, Amani Burnham, I want to thank you very much for taking time today and joining me on Time Signatures. Rest assured, I'm going to be watching your journey. I'm also going to pick up a copy of the CD and the vinyl because I got a collection of vinyl, so I have to have it. But anytime you need a mic to promote an album in the future or a tour, you always have a microphone here, okay?
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, very good. Well, as this episode comes to a close, I want to tell you about the VFW National Home, located just about 30 miles southwest of my current location in Eaton Rapids, Michigan. VFW National Home assists military veterans and their families with children by creating a foundation of services and resources to achieve their personal and family goals in order to move forward in a positive, safe, and healthy environment. Among the many things offered through the VFW National Home are single family homes within the community at no cost, tutoring, classes, secondary financial assistance, and educational resources to empower and grow. And they also offer licensed daycare for their residents at no charge. Visit vfwnationalhome.org today to learn more and also to make a tax-deductible donation in any amount. And as always, thank you so much for your consideration. And that wraps up this edition of Time Signatures. Once again, my thanks to our guest, Amani Burnham, but also to you, for without you, none of this would be possible. Jim Ervin reminding you, keeping the blues alive is everyone's responsibility, but preserving the history of the blues, one story at a time, that's my mission. Until next time, so long, everybody.
This has been Time Signatures with Jim Ervin, presented by the Capital Area Blues Society in Lansing, Michigan. For more information on cabs, visit capitalareablues.org. You can find this episode and past episodes at lcconnect.org. The Time Signatures theme song, Michigan Roads, is used by permission and was written by Root Doctor, featuring Freddie Cunningham.
You know I'm trying, baby, driving up and down these Michigan roads, yeah.
Until next time, keep on keeping the blues alive.
Baby, I'm home.